Everyone thinks great sex is about lasting longer or getting harder, but for most men, that's exactly what's keeping them stuck in mediocre performance. I've seen this pattern over and over in research, data, and real client cases. Performance alone isn't enough. 95% of men climax during sex, while only 65% of women do. That's a 30-point orgasm gap that most men accept as just how things are. But when you focus only on your own performance, you miss the system that actually creates mutual satisfaction, whether you're in a relationship, married, or dating. My name is Daryl, and drawing from my experience working with hundreds of high-performing men, I've identified a critical system that most guys completely overlook. In this video, I'm breaking down how focusing on individual performance actually sabotages shared pleasure, and the exact 5-gear system I use to solve it. This is based on real data, clinical studies, orgasm research, and case studies from leading sex scientists. The truth is that sex operates on what I call the pleasure multiplier engine. 5 interconnected mechanisms that multiply each other's effects. And when you optimize these gears correctly, you don't just improve your own experience. You create the kind of sexual encounters that leave both you and your partner completely satisfied. And if you've been doing everything right, but still feel like something's missing, this will explain why. Most guys think great sex is about performance. How long you last, how hard you get, how many positions you know. But a 2021 study that analyzed over 50,000 people revealed something shocking. The orgasm gap isn't biological at all. Researchers found that when lesbian women have sex, their orgasm rate jumps to 80 to 90%. Same biology, but completely different outcome. The difference isn't anatomy, it's approach. The real problem is what scientists call the coital imperative, the belief that penetration alone should be enough. But here's what the data actually shows. Only 25 to 30% of women can climax from penetration alone without additional stimulation. Yet this remains the default script for most guys. This creates what I call the performance paradox. The harder you focus on your own performance, the further you get from what actually creates mutual pleasure. And that's where the pleasure multiplier engine comes in. The challenge is that every man's biology responds differently to these interventions. What works for your friend might backfire for you because of differences in hormonal levels, genetics, and lifestyle factors. That's exactly why I work with men one-on-one to create completely customized protocols based on their blood work and biometrics. The pleasure multiplier engine is just one piece of optimizing your biology for peak performance. The truth is, when you dial in your hormones, vascular health, and nervous system properly, incredible intimacy is just one of the many benefits. If you want a complete protocol for achieving superhuman energy, focus, and drive with amazing sex as a natural byproduct, check out the link below. But before we dive into the 5 gears, you need to understand why most approaches fail completely. Let's start with gear 1, musculoskeletal control. And no, I'm not talking about doing more push-ups or getting ripped abs. What most people don't understand is there is a specific muscle group that directly controls erection quality and ejaculation timing. And 90% of men have never trained it properly. A landmark study published in BJU International followed 55 men with erectile dysfunction. Half did lifestyle changes and half added pelvic floor muscle training. The results were staggering. 40% of the men doing pelvic floor exercises regained normal erectile function, while 0% of the control group improved. But here's where it gets interesting. The same muscle that controls erections also controls ejaculation. Another study found 83% of men with lifelong premature ejaculation gained voluntary control after just 12 weeks of targeted pelvic floor training. Their average time increased from 30 seconds to 2.4 minutes, an almost 400% improvement. The solution is what researchers call pelvic floor muscle training, building your sexual foundation. 3 sets of 10 Kegel contractions plus 10 rapid pulses. The key is learning to both contract and fully relax muscles on command. But muscle control is just the first gear. The second gear is where things get really interesting. Gear 2, relational dynamics. Most guys think communication during sex means asking, does that feel good? But a massive study of over 3,000 women revealed 4 specific techniques that 80% of women already use to enhance their pleasure, and most men have never heard of them. The OMG Yes study mapped exactly how women modify penetration to maximize sensation. They found 4 distinct patterns. Angling, which is rotating their hips to change internal contact. Second is rocking, which is continual clitoris contact over thrusting. The third is shallowing, where they focus on the sensitive entrance area. And finally, pairing, which is a combination of clitoral stimulation with penetration. Here's the breakthrough. When couples communicate about these specific techniques, the orgasm gap virtually disappears. A review of multiple studies found that sexual communication correlates with a large increase in satisfaction. But there's another critical element most guys skip entirely. Research published in the Journal of Sexual Research found that longer foreplay duration was associated with higher likelihood of orgasm for both partners. The average couple spends about 10 minutes on foreplay, but women often require 15 to 20 minutes of continuous arousal to reach an orgasmic plateau. Studies also show that couples who introduce novel activities, new positions, locations, or even simple dirty talk increases dopamine in the brain, similarly to when the relationship was new. One experiment found that couples who did exciting new activities together had significant greater post-activity sexual desire than couples who did mundane activities. Understanding these patterns and incorporating extended foreplay with novelty creates the foundation for mutual satisfaction. But even perfect techniques won't work if this one thing isn't optimized. Gear 3, vascular performance. And no, I'm not talking about taking Viagra or doing more cardio, though both can help. What most people don't understand is there's a specific compound your body produces called nitric oxide that directly controls blood flow to sexual organs. And you can increase it naturally by 21% in just weeks. A systematic review of men with erectile dysfunction found that 160 minutes per week of aerobic exercise for 6 months led to significant improvements in erectile function. Here's the mechanism. Exercise increases nitric oxide production, which is the master regulator of blood flow. But there's a faster way. A small trial found that L-citrulline supplementation at 1.5 grams helped 50% of men with mild ED achieve fully rigid erections, compared to only 8% in a placebo. The reason is that L-citrulline converts to L-arginine, which your body uses to produce nitric oxide. For men who need more reliable support, tadalafil, or brand name Cialis, has shown remarkable benefits beyond just treating erectile dysfunction. Studies show it helps men stay harder, last longer, and maintain reliable erections. Unlike other ED medications, tadalafil can be taken daily at low dose, providing consistent vascular support. The solution is the blood flow protocol. Combine 160 minutes of weekly cardio with 1.5 to 3 grams of L-citrulline daily, plus nitrate-rich foods like beetroot or spinach 2 to 3 hours before intimacy. This creates what researchers call optimal endothelial function. Basically, your blood vessels work like they did when you were 20. But even perfect blood flow won't help if your hormones are working against you. Gear 4, hormone health. A controlled study published in JAMA took healthy young men and restricted their sleep to 5 hours for 1 week. Their daytime testosterone dropped from 530 nanograms per deciliter to 480, a 15% decrease. That's equivalent to aging 10 years. Meanwhile, getting a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep with proper sleep hygiene restores youthful hormone levels in days. But sleep is just the foundation. Research shows specific supplementation can significantly boost testosterone production. Fenugreek extract at 600 milligrams daily increased testosterone and improve sexual function in healthy men. Tongkat Ali has shown to increase testosterone by up to 37% in studies. Vitamin D deficiency is linked to low testosterone, and studies found men taking over 3,000 IU daily saw a 25% increase in total testosterone over 1 year. Zinc is absolutely critical for testosterone production, with deficient men seeing dramatic improvement with supplementation. Magnesium can support over 300 enzymatic reactions, including testosterone synthesis. For men with clinically low testosterone, enclomiphene citrate offers a way to boost natural production while preserving fertility, unlike traditional testosterone replacement. The solution is the hormone optimization protocol. Consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep, training 2 to 3 times a week, body fat between 10 to 15%, and strategic supplementation based on your individual needs. But even with perfect hormones, many guys still struggle because there's one more hidden gear most men never think to optimize. Gear 5, neuropsychology. A study on mindfulness-based sex therapy found that men with performance anxiety showed marked improvements in erectile confidence after just 6 weeks of targeted training. Here's how it works. Sexual arousal requires parasympathetic nervous system activation, the rest and digest state, or your relaxed state. Performance anxiety triggers sympathetic activation, your fight or flight, which happens when you're under a lot of stress, and it literally shuts down sexual function. Performance anxiety creates a vicious cycle. The fear of not performing well actually guarantees poor performance by flooding your system with stress hormones that constrict blood vessels and increase muscle tension. Research shows that 25% of men under 40 experience performance anxiety, and it's often the primary cause of sexual sexual dysfunction in otherwise healthy men. The key is breaking the cycle through what researchers call cognitive restructuring, changing thoughts that trigger anxiety. Studies show that men who practice mindfulness meditation for just 10 minutes daily see significant reduction in performance anxiety within 4 weeks. The solution is the Mindful Arousal Protocol. 5 deep breaths before any sexual activity, focusing on sensation rather than performance, and practicing what researchers call present moment awareness during intimacy. This shifts your nervous system into the optimal state for sexual function. Now here's where it gets really powerful. The magic happens when these gears work together. A man with strong pelvic floor muscles can use precise control during the techniques that maximize mutual pleasure. Optimal blood flow makes every sensation more intense, while balanced hormones fuel desire and energy, and a calm, focused mind allows you to stay present and responsive to your partner's feedback. This creates what researchers call sexual synchrony, when both partners' arousal patterns align. Studies show this leads to simultaneous orgasms in 23% of encounters, compared to just 6% in couples using traditional approaches. But here's what most guys miss. You don't need to perfect all 5 gears at once. The key is a systematic implementation. Start with the gear that most resonates with your current situation. Master it over 2 to 3 weeks, and then add the next one. The pleasure multiplier engine is just the beginning of what happens when you optimize your entire biological system. When you dial in your hormones, cardiovascular health, nervous system, and muscular control properly, you don't just transform your intimate life. You unlock superhuman energy, laser focus, and unstoppable drive in all areas. That's exactly what I cover in my comprehensive optimization protocol, the complete system for achieving peak male performance, with incredible intimacy as just one of the many benefits. If you're ready to become the kind of man who operates at his biological peak, the link is in the description below.